Well, she's done, and I'm pretty excited to show you guys this. What this is well, as you probably saw in the title, this is indicator holder for AXA tool post. I figured let me 3D print one. I know Tubal Cain made one that he also 3D printed, but the actual gauge that he's using, I believe, is actually smaller than mine. I'm using a 60mm gauge, and I actually left some generous scalloping in there, so you can actually use an even larger one, up to I think 65mm or so. You should be able to get away with using it. But in either case, and this is also only in one direction, you can't reverse this indicator holder. So without further ado, let's pull it off the bed. The heater chamber makes ABS parts a lot easier to print warp free, and it looks like I got a pretty good stiction here, so I'm actually gonna have to wait until this pulled it off. So next up, I'm gonna walk you guys to the lathe and see if this actually fits in the dovetail. I haven't even deburred this, I haven't cleaned it up or anything. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually see if this actually fits. Does it? Carefully. I think it does need to be deburred. Yeah, it does. Burrs are in the way. Be right back. Alright, some deburring. This thing is still hot, so it probably it's still contracted, so the dovetails are a little bit tighter, but I still deburred it, cleaned it up a little bit. It is actually a really snug fit. I don't even have to tighten this thing down to actually make it stay put. So with that said, the dovetail portion of it is a success. Quite happy with that. Now let's put on the accessories. So while straddling the tripod, I laid out everything we need here, and I want to show you guys something. This is actually not been cleaned up really. I just kind of pulled it off the 3D printer. This is a granite surface plate, and actually it's a new one, and it's supposedly it's pretty darn flat, but I did notice one thing. There is no rocking. I don't feel any rocking on this print. I'm planning on actually sanding the bottom or dressing the bottom up a little bit and then doing a little bit of acetone smoothing just for my sanity, but other than that, this looks pretty good. So the next part is I gotta take this threaded rod, which I've already chamfered the tip on the lathe, and I gotta screw it into this hole. Let the actual threaded rod make the thread. I need approximately 40 mil, about 1.3 inches is what I need, so I'm probably going to cut off about 2 inches worth of this threaded rod to fit in here. So I'm going to chamfer out the threaded rod, and this is my take on the universal chamfering tool that Tom Lipton showed, and that's it. I ground it myself. It's actually one of the first tools I ever grounded, honed it, and now it's gonna do the job. Gotta love owning a lathe. There it is. See you in a second. Alright, so this is gonna go here for me to do that. I'm gonna jam two nuts together and then use the jam nuts to thread in here. It shouldn't be too bad. Should go in there pretty good. Not bad. So now we got the tool post. Next up, and this is, yes, it's a Harbor Freight dial indicator. It's a 1-inch travel. I think it'll be fine for my lathe and for the type of work I do. So it's really designed for these kinds of import grade. I'm sure it'll work with the other ones. The hardware is whatever I had on hand. This is actually metric. I believe it's an M8 or an M7, something along those lines. And no, I didn't model the threads in, but since this is 100% infill, the screws can actually cut their own threads. There we go. The indicator is in there. So next up is making this. This is the hand wheel, and I'll show you in the next scene how to make this. And this is the lock nut. Alrighty, be right back. So I wanted to show you guys this. This is a knob that I 3D printed. It's a two-piece 3D print. Actually, it's pretty coarse and terrible resolution, but in either case, this thing, it's two pieces, and I embedded a nut inside of it. I want to show you guys that, yeah, you can 3D print things and then, you know, post-process them with a lathe or a machine or anything like that. So after turning a chunk of scrap over here, now it's time for me to mount the indicator. And pull this out, put it back in its holder, grab the indicator, which is right here, slide it down, thumb screw, and Try to get it as centered as possible. As centered as possible. That looks to be about right. Locking nut on top of it to ensure some repeatability. Again, this is a piece of plastic, but at the end of the day, it's kind of cool. Yes, it has a hardened bit. And you can pull it out and click. It goes where it needs to go. Almost no play, just as tight as all the other ones. And the rack is complete. Subscribe, comment, say hello. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great one.